Going to need is, of course, the sun. So the first thing I want to do is take the 3.5 foot stick and just set it to the side here. And what I've done is I took the 3 foot stick and just sharpened it at the tip so it's easier to work it into the soil. And what I want to do is I want to take that sharpened end, put it on the ground, and I want this stick to be straight up and down. I don't want it to be leaning to the left or right, back and forth. I want it straight up, and I just want to hammer it. In this case, I just have a stone here into the ground so it's nice and tight. Just want to check things, make sure it's nice and straight once again. Okay. Now when you do this, you want to make sure it's in a nice open area to where there's no shade, and you also want to make sure the dirt is nice and smooth. And I'll show you why in just a second. So now I have my stick that's straight up and down, as you can see here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take one of my pine branches that I went ahead and shaved off. And I always start with the larger pine branch. And I want to take that and I want to follow the shadow that's casting off this little branch here, and I want to mark it at the end. Now what that's going to do is that's going to lay my first marker for navigation. So I'm going to find that, and I'm just going to stick that into the ground right at the tip. So as you guys can see, the bigger stick casts the larger shadow. And then at the tip, the smaller stick also casts another shadow. And one way to tell that this is aligned is it'll all look like one shadow, and it'll be straight in the center. And what I mean by that is the smaller stick's shadow will be straight in the center of the larger stick. Now everybody knows that the sun rises from the east and sets in the west. So what you're going to do is you're going to wait every 10-15 minutes, and once the shadow moves, you're going to mark it with another stick. So your first stick, since the sun rises from the east and sets in the west, your first stick is going to be your west point. And then your last stick is of course going to be your east point. So earlier I talked about having a nice flat surface and also being in the open to where there's no shade. And now I'm sure you can see why. And the reason why, well, you want that line to be very straight, and if there's a lot of ripples on the floor, if there's a lot of rocks, that's not going to give you true east and west, because that stick's shadow will be shifting. And I say use these little stakes here I carved out of pine for a few different reasons. Well, that's going to give you a precise shadow casting straight from the larger stick, and that's going to be able to mark it a little bit more clear, and it's also going to give you precise direction. Also, I can use this for other things as well. I can use it as a toothpick if I have something caught in my tooth. I can use it as even a hunting utensil. If there's a scorpion and I need to pin down its tail, I have a stick here that also has an end to where I can hold that tail down and I can get a nice clear cut. Also, if I have a fire built around me and all those charcoals are still smothering somewhat, I can take this and use it as a writing utensil by smothering it in that charcoal and writing on a piece of wood or a piece of paper, sending rescue which direction I went. So this is very handy and I recommend keeping a few of these inside of your backpack and scouting kit. All right, so that'll be the last one we stake in. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That should be good enough. Now this is where the 3.5 foot stick comes in. And this, I want to place directly over it. And this will be west, and over here will be east. Now how accurate is it? Well, let me show you. All right, so we have our compass here. It's the Suunto MC2G, and we're going to put the dog in its house. And what I mean by the dog in its house, you want the top arrow to meet the bottom arrow. And as you can see, it is a little bit off. It says west is this way and east runs that way, and that's expected. But in reality, the sticks is true west and east because of the shadows it casted. And the reason why this is a little bit off is because of the magnetic air in the magnetic compass. So where is north and south? Well, north and south is about like this. So you'll have north, south, east, and west. So this compass comes very, very close to true north, east, south, and west. It's just a hair off, but that's no big deal. I still recommend carrying at least 2 inside of your scouting pack as well as a bug out bag. If you're any outdoorsman, whether you're a hiker, a fisherman, or an adventurer, or just going out and practicing wilderness survival, having this very, very important. I have 3. I have 2 of these, and I also have my watch, which is also a compass. But knowing this primitive method on how to find true north, east, south, and west is very, very crucial, and I do recommend going out and getting the dirt time. So if you don't come prepared, your second best option is a stick in the sun. Well, I'm Jeff with Martin Survival. I appreciate